before I start, we need a quick prayer for Mitchell and Sean because they're going on a road trip. We're 2 hours in, this man's tire fell off his car. And now they're like stranded in Virginia. I don't know what's happened recently, but yeah, I kind of laugh, but it's not a good situation.
Saw it on Snapchat.
But with that, yes, I'm going to be sharing my testimony tonight. It's been a while since I've been up here, but I'm excited, looking forward to this. Before I get in, I'm going to pray again real quick, and then I will go get into it. Lord, thank you for this day, for this time. I thank you for everything that you've done for us and for me, that I even get to share this with people. I ask that you would the presence would be in this room. Just help me to speak clearly, and just bless this night in your name. Amen.
Amen.
So, I think of like kind of a story. So like, I was trying to come up with this, like, where does my story even start? Obviously, there's Jesus involved. Hallelujah. But there's two other things I was kind of just looking through what I was going to talk about. There's kind of two main things that kind of run through this, and that is fear and comfortability. Those things will be coming up here. You're probably thinking like, all right, so what are you scared? What are you fearful of? And I will tell you. But where does all of this start? It starts with Tom and Priscilla Parlett, aka Mom and Dad. My parents are both believers. They're strong believers, have been for a while. And so that was what I was born into. They did a great job raising me, my whole family. There's one sister. I got another one, and Mitchell, obviously. But we grew up with a really strong family, and in the center of that was the gospel. They made it very clear, and it was important that the gospel was the center of all of our lives. We do prayer cards. I don't know if you remember that. We were little. We'd have like cards. We'd have a bunch of people's names, and you'd have to pick like 3, and you'd have to pray for all those people. We'd read the word together. We prayed before every meal. So the gospel was like a very central thing. And not only were my parents Christians and believers, but their parents were as well. On both sides, so both my grandparents, or all 4 of them, also strong believers. And so from there, their kids were also believers. So everywhere I went, aunts, uncles, cousins, I don't know why they're not here tonight. This is horrific. But all of us were all born and raised in Christian homes. So you see, people say I was born in a Christian home. I had like multiple homes. Everywhere I went, Jesus, the gospel was right there. And one of those homes was this place called Bay Ridge Christian Church. Obviously, we're here. Ever since I was born, I don't know what day I was born, but whatever Sunday they could be back here, we were here, and I've been here ever since. And I'm very thankful for that. So again, everywhere I went, the gospel was very key, and I heard it over and over and over again. So I had the Sunday schools, grew up through all of that, youth groups, had all that. So you're probably thinking, this dude's probably a Christian, right? And that's what I told myself for quite a long time, but it just wasn't the case. So, I'm thinking like, okay, this dude's definitely a Christian. But because I've heard all of this stuff so many times, was born into it everywhere I went. It was Jesus, the gospel, and it's like you're at school and you're like going over the same things, and you're like, when am I really going to need this? Well, newsflash, every day. Back then, I just didn't think that. I had a very comfortable life, and so I didn't need God. That's how I kind of felt. It was all just knowledge. It wasn't really in here yet. So, with all that, I never really truly took the gospel to heart and really believed it. And so, what did I want? What were my desires and what I want to do in life? Because it wasn't, at the time, it was not Jesus. One of the things that popped into my head first, not necessarily a bad thing, but if any of you know me, you probably know what I'm talking about, and that is sports. If you had to ask me like what my identity is, especially like coming through middle school, high school, I would have said sports right off the bat. I mean, football, diehard Ravens fan. It's every sport: baseball, basketball, NASCAR is top tier. But growing up, that's what I put like all my attention and I guess faith in. I guess if that makes any sense. But when I wanted joy or I wanted something, I usually turned to sports because it was my favorite thing. I loved it, but I started taking in a bit too much. There's some video of it's all of me and Mitchell Grace. We're here at church like early Sunday morning or something, and I don't know who's recording, but they're asking like what today. I don't know if it was Easter or not, but we're all here. I think it's Lydia taking video. She's asking Mitchell Grace, "What's today? What's today? It's Easter." And then it's just funny because it's this Sunday, but it gets to me and I look so grumpy, and I'm like bent over and I'm like, "This is the most corny answer of all time. Y'all can laugh." So they all say it's Easter, and I say it's NASCAR day. All right, that's how much I care about this. All right, and so like that's one of the stories that came to mind. It's so funny. But that's how it was, and like even today, it's still a struggle sometimes. I'll be sitting during teachings, and like if the Ravens are playing the Steelers or something, that's like all I'm thinking about. So it can be a challenge at times. But yeah. Back to the identity thing. Going through high school and staying on sports. I never really got to play sports before high school because my parents, they say I was ultra competitive, which is true. And thank the Lord that has died down a little bit. But so I'm going into high school, I was like, I want to play sport finally. I get to do like what I want to do. This is all I care about. And so I chose baseball. I only had like maybe a year of experience before. I played like 15 games maybe. But I went into the freshman year in tryouts, like, all right, I'm finally going to get to do what I want. So we get to tryouts, and I'm doing pretty good. I don't know, you're like the only baseball player in me. Like, I'm hitting the ball well, I'm not making any errors. We're doing mile runs, I'm like in the front, I'm doing really good. So I'm doing that, it's like a whole week of tryouts. I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm definitely going to make the team, right? So we get into the last day, and we go into the locker room, it's the end. And in tryout, they like go down a list of the names of if you made it or not. And we're like in this real small room, like the tension is insane. Like me, I never got to really play, so I'm like, all right, this is it. Am I gonna make it or not? So he starts going through the list of names, and there's only like 18 kids on the team, so it's not a lot. So you're counting in your head that when he's listing off every name, you're like, all right, just say my name, please. So he gets down and he keeps going. There's like 4 left. And like, I was like praying, like, Lord, please just say my name. We get down to the last 2. And now I'm like starting to shake. Like, oh no. It gets to the last one. Doesn't say my name. Right, didn't make it. And, like immediately, I wanted to get up and just walk out and just like rage. Like, it was game over for me. So he comes in, does a little speech, and I'm sitting there. I'm getting ready to leave, and he's like, "Parlay, come here." I'm like, "Is he like tricking me or something? What's going on?" So I walk in, and identity. This is all I've ever wanted. And so he comes in. He's talking to me. He's like, "You do everything well, but we don't think you're going to be ready for high school because you're just too small." I wanted to punch him in the face so bad and also cry like a baby, which I did. I went home and I was like, God, why did you make me so small? Like I'm athletic, but you should have seen me in like 9th grade. I was like down here. Like I can do this, everything I want to do, and it just got taken away from me. So I was pretty heartbroken. I went home and I don't think I moved for like 2 days. It's like bump everything. And so looking back like that was just kind of God showing me like, one, your identity doesn't need to be in this, but if you rely so much on certain things, a lot of times they're not going to pull through. And so, moving on from this, the other thing that, probably the biggest fear, I said fear and comfort were two big things in my life. And probably the biggest fear that I have is what I'm doing right now, which is speaking. And it was from a young age too. I remember in like kindergarten, like, teachers thought something was wrong. Like, they like talk to my parents, does this kid even like say any words? Like, I would just be chilling by myself, and if you came up to me, like, I'd just go away, please. Like, that's how it was. There's another thing, I remember my dad had this thing, because I mean, they knew I was quiet. He would be like, we'd eat dinner, get ready to go to bed. He's like, all right, name 2 kids in your class, and you gotta go the next day, all you gotta do is go say hi, or something like that. All you gotta do is say something to them. And so I would go into school, I would say like, okay, yeah, I got it, and be like, so nervous already. And but I would go in the next day, I would try and like hype myself up. Like, okay, no, just say hi. Like, I'm trying to hype myself up, and I'd get right there to take the step, and then like that little voice to say, they're gonna think you're dumb, they're gonna laugh or something, and I would just never do it, ever. And so, and that all throughout school and just life in general, just like anxiety, mainly just social anxiety, it was with me ever since the beginning. And so, trying to deal with that, it just leads a lot of overthinking. I would overthink everything. I'd be in school, and like I didn't talk much, but I still wanted to fit in. And so, it was just like a weird, I don't know, it was just weird. And so, but yeah, I still wanted to fit in with everyone. Most of it was just baseball. I wanted everyone to know I'm an athlete, like I do all this. So I did make the team the next 3 years. So you gotta come back. So, lesson. But that was my identity. I want everyone to know that. But when it came to just talking to people, I had like my few little friends, but like anytime I needed to go talk to somebody else I didn't know, it was just fear. So much anxiety that I wouldn't do anything. And so, like, that just would sit with me all the time. I would always get so close to taking that step, whether it be like in class, even here, like during youth group or anything, where you're talking. I would always try and like I said, hype myself up, but just never went through. So I'm just like what is going on with me? Like, why? And then the anxiety would go up even more by a lot. When I was 14, 15-ish, I think that's what it was, that's when I fell into porn. And it was, instantly it took a stronghold on my life. As soon as I got a phone, like I said, it went downhill. And so I'm already this really shy, quiet kid, and like, nobody can know about this because I'm a sick, horrible human being. If anyone knows, like, my life's over, I'm gonna die. I can't do it. And so that just made the anxiety go up to a whole nother level, and it was bad. It messed with friendships, family. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I was just so down, and it's such a destructive thing and once you fall into it, it's just, if you don't go out and talk to anybody, at this point I'm not talking to God either, because I'm not there yet, and it's just going to sit there and it will destroy your life, and that's what it started to do. And one of the things is, I thought I was by myself, that's one of the biggest lies that you can tell yourself and that the enemy is going to say, is that there's nobody else dealing with this. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're a bad person. Mm-hmm. You know? And so trying to get out of that is very, very difficult. But luckily, there was a couple friends I had, and they started opening up about it. And so I was like, okay, well, shoot. Like, there's people I know, like, this isn't like just a thing that I'm struggling with. And so that helped a bit, helped find some freedom. And then I kept going, there was more people I was able to talk to. And once, especially if you're like shy and anxious like that, when you can finally take those, it doesn't have to be one giant step. You can just take little steps, especially when it comes, talking to the Lord, because that, again, I had all the knowledge. I believed there was a God, but like when I would fall, I'd just be like, I can't even go anywhere near that because I gotta fix myself, and that just will lead to destruction and despair. And so all this is going on, and I'm always asking the question, like, what does it mean to actually be a Christian? That's just the question that I keep asking myself, because I know it's all up here. I've heard stories. I know about Jesus, but like, why? It's not there. And so I just kept asking myself, what is a Christian? It's not just knowing all those things. And so I think it was one summer, we were doing a thing outside. This is when you started showing up. I think, I don't know which summer it was. We had something out there, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I was 17. That's when I got sick. But yeah, it was a while ago, and that was kind of one of the central questions you kept asking, and like that would just sit, and I would just sit there and think and think and think. And I remember there's one thing you did. I wish I could remember what you were talking about, but you had all of our eyes closed, and it was something along the lines of like, do you actually like want to like believe all this something? And all of our eyes were closed, and you said like, raise your hand, and I didn't raise my hand. And all this that I wanted all this, like I wanted to truly know, and I wanted to raise my hand so bad, but right before I did, it was like, everyone is looking at you right now. Like that's what I was thinking. Even though we're all sitting there like this, head down. That's what I thought. But so, at this point, that's the Spirit starting to work. Because this is all I'm thinking about. I'm not a real Christian right now. Like I may be a good person here and there, but that's not what it is. And so, shortly after that, all this is going through my head. And one night, I'm laying in my room, and I'm listening to worship music. And this is when the Spirit really took over. And so I'm just listening to worship. I'm sitting here, and like, that when you get in the presence of God, like it's like just different. Like this is like the first time that it really happened. And the song "We Believe" by the Newsboys came on. I always bring this up. It's a bop. But so it comes on, and at this point, I'm already like, I'm crying. I'm just sitting there like, wow, it was just like Jesus was there, and he was just saying like, I'm here. And so that song's going on, and in the song, it's just talking about you really, I believe all this. And so I sat there, I put my hands up, and I said, I believe that you are the Son of God. You are perfect man and God. I believe that you came, lived this life, and that you died on a cross. It's crazy, Easter was like 2 days ago. But he came, he did all that, and took all my sin away. And so in that moment, that's what I just gave it all up to Christ. And so that's when I truly believed, like this is real. Like Jesus, he saved me. Nothing that I did, it was all him. So all that fear, anxiety, like there's just not really a point. Jesus came and he died. He did everything for you already. The worrying, chasing my own desires, falling in lust, trying to put my own identity up, all that would fall short. And so at that moment, I put my hope in Christ. And his presence is just the most enjoyable and good and perfect thing in this world.
Amen.
And I'm beyond thankful that he chose me and saved me.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, it's not like when we were at Ocean City, we had like before Christ, during Christ, and then after Christ. So I was this very shy person, didn't say anything. Now, I mean, I'm still like talking, like I'm definitely much better at it, but it's still not, I still got a lot of work. But if you would have told me when I was like 16, you're going to be helping leading the youth group, you're not just going to like move on and do whatever, whatever you want, I would have been like, there's no way. Like, I don't want to do that. But God's definitely called me to be a part of this and just serve in general. And there's a verse that I want you guys, you probably have all heard this. It's from 2 Timothy, and it's chapter 1, verse 7. We've been going over this on Sundays, but it's, for God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. Not a spirit of fear. The fear, it will keep you from God. It's not from God. And so don't stay in it. That's one of the things I struggled with so much, is I would get so scared and anxious, and I would just stay in that. And when you do that, it just leads to despair. And you're not happy at all. You can tell yourself, I'm going to get out of this, but it's not going to work. But it says here, when we have the Spirit, it's not a fear. He gave us his spirit of power and love and self-control. So when you find yourself fearful or stressed, whatever it may be, it could be anything, remember that he gave you his spirit. And it is, like I was just repeating it, it's power and love. And if you follow that spirit, it will lead you past that fear and everything, and you'll be able to walk right through it. So that's pretty much all that I have. I have one other little thing. I always, when I teach, like to bring up lyrics. I don't know why I do this, but it's just, I don't know. But it's from an album called Uncomfortable. It's by Andy Mineo, GOAT rapper, don't have me. And it's funny, this is one of the albums I listen to so much because it deals with a lot of this, deals with comfort. But one of the lines in one of his songs is, time is so precious, so you gotta invest it where you spend it. And then if we're prisoners to comfort, then we judge our own sentence. So basically, if we're prisoners to comfort, just if you're gonna stay in your comfort zone, just boxing yourself in, you're not gonna take any risks or jump anywhere, and you're just gonna be stuck. And so, and we judge our own sentence, like you're not gonna do anything. So if you feel like you're stuck in a comfort zone and you want to get out of that, you got to turn to God. And it can be challenging. Definitely is challenging, but his power and his sovereignty is over all. And when you can really trust in that, it's just going to lead you past anything you could imagine. So that's pretty much all I have. I don't know how long that was, but hope you guys were able to listen.